Sorry about that. Opposition political party leaders fell over each other during the SADC head of states and government summit as they battled for attention at the meeting held amid a blitz on political activists and human rights defenders. President Emerson Mnangagwa took over the bloc's chairmanship from Angolan President João Manuel Lourenço. The summit was one of the most significant political events on the regional calendar. So the convergence of power players from across Southern Africa, dressed in their finest, they arrived with entourages surrounded by an aura of importance and privilege. However, the firebrand ZANU-PF spokesperson Christopher Mutsvangwa cut a lonely figure while other politicians battled for recognition at the high-profile event. The Newsday witnessed that while high-ranking officials mingled, exchanged pleasantries, and jostled for recognition, Mutsvangwa was conspicuously alone, a solitary figure amid a sea of handshakes and embrace. And they say this: at one point, Mutsvangwa was seen wandering outside Parliament, his posture reflecting an air of resignation. It was a moment that captured the attention of many onlookers, including journalists who could not help but wonder what had led to his apparent isolation. Some journalists ended up requesting interviews with Mutsvangwa after seeing him walking alone, uncharacteristically quiet outside the building. Earlier this year, Mnangagwa fired Mutsvangwa from the position of Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Affairs Minister. Last week, Defense Forces Day at Faro Stadium, Vice President Constantino Chiwenga avoided a handshake with Christopher Mutsvangwa. Then there are reports that Mutsvangwa was booted out of Manize steel plant, with close sources citing the reason as being too vocal. Mutsvangwa's phone was not reachable yesterday. However, political analyst Ruben Mufana yesterday said Mutsvangwa's unpredictable nature has led to his marginalization within the administration. Mutsvangwa is very unpredictable, volatile, and quite unstable person. During the Mugabe era, Mutsvangwa ended up being fired because of his volatile and divisive nature. We have been seeing the same thing happening here again with the Mnangagwa administration. At first, Mnangagwa kept Mutsvangwa close to him, but of late, with all his comments, reckless comments actually being made in the media, he was let go. He is somebody who cannot be trusted. So, at the end of the day, you lose allies. You lose people who can actually trust you and become isolated, Mbofana say. Meanwhile, three familiar yet increasingly marginalized figures of the country's political landscape made their presence felt at the summit. MDC leaders Douglas Monzora, self-imposed Citizen Coalition for Change Interim Secretary General Sengezo Tsabangu, who is now a senator, and National Constitutional Assembly President Madhuku, once prominent names in the country's political discourse, were seen navigating the summit events with a determined air, seeking validation and perhaps a resurgence on the regional stage. Despite its diminished political clout, the trio was afforded the same hospitality as other delegates at the summit. Monzora, Tsabangu and Madhuku were provided with the best treatment, enjoying luxurious amenities reserved for summit attendees. The trio's attendance at the summit raised eyebrows given their recent fall from grace on the political arena. Observers said their presence at the summit appeared to be a last-ditch effort to reclaim relevance, if not within the country, then at least among regional peers. The summit was also marked by an atmosphere of heightened security as the host country took extraordinary measures to ensure the safety of the event. From the early hours of the morning, the city streets were bustling with uniformed officers with roadblocks set up at strategic points leading to the venue. The imposing security presence was palpable, and even before reaching the summit location, visitors were subjected to thorough checks. Delegates and journalists alike had to navigate tight security, with each checkpoint meticulously scrutinizing credentials and passes. Inside the summit venue, the security measures were even more intense, with every entry point guarded by armed forces, and access to different areas of the conference was tightly controlled. There. Now, top Harare city officials sentenced to 10 years in prison. Yes, this has happened. And who are these guys who got sentenced to 10 years in prison? There is one called Stanley Ndemera, who is a former acting finance director, and Emmanuel Mutambirwa, who was the valuer and estate manager behind the parceling of land that was leased at Old Harareans Sports Club there. The High Court has sentenced two senior Harare city officials to 10